enjoy working outside, I enjoy physical work, I enjoy working with my husband, usually. I enjoy that it's a family farm and that we work with our sons. It makes for a very strong family core, and I enjoy that. People think that farmers are self-employed and independent, and I think that that's totally wrong. I have 140 bosses in the barn because each and every cow out there needs to be cared for every day. So if there's something wrong with one of the cows, that takes priority over whatever I'm doing.
I had more responsibility than most kids. I'd have to come home and feed calves, and we had chickens then too, and that was our job, taking care of the chickens. So
city girl all the way. Totally city girl. So yeah, basically what I've learned is taught from my husband and my father-in-law, and that's about it, really.
More and more women are heading up the family farm. They have equal say, equal rights, and equal amounts of work. They work beside, not behind, the men in their family to keep the farm going. Heather Bailey has a huge role in her family farm near Belleville, Ontario. Every day, Heather milks cows, cleans stalls, and feeds calves. And she's the perfect example of how women are changing the face of the family farm.
It's a concern for us what we eat as mothers and as caregivers and as people who feed. We worry about where our food comes from. We want it to be good food. We want it to be food that's safe. We want it to be food that's healthy. So we're looking at it from a different perspective maybe. And as the world is changing, we're looking at how can we be healthier in what we're feeding our families, and how can we have the best food available with the least amount of harmful sprays and things like that nature. I think you're seeing more women looking at food as what they feed their family rather than just food that's just grown. Whereas men look at wheat in the field, they just look at wheat in the field. Whereas I think a woman looks wheat in the field, she looks at that as that's going to somebody's house to feed somebody. So
She's not alone. More and more women are choosing to run their own farm.
way back, the women, of course, were expected to do everything on the farm, and they did it without complaint. And then you went to, say, my mother-in-law's generation, where the women didn't go to the barn. The men did it all, and the women were in the house. So that's, 70, 80 years ago. So then you go to the next generation, which would be my generation or a little older, and you saw women who were taking a more active role in the farm. And then you get to my generation, and you have women who are 100% farmers, who make all the decisions, who are as knowledgeable, if not more, than their husband.
I think women have always played a very, very key role in farming, but I think their role is being recognised, and it's less in the background than it once was. I think now, with some of them, they're taking the leadership role, and they're being recognised as farmers. I think in the past, if the women who were taking the lead role weren't recognised as farmers, especially if their husband wasn't working on the farm, but I think things are changing.
Monica Haller is a third-generation farmer. Since she was a little girl, Monica has always been in the barn, and that hasn't changed. Even with 4 children, she spends every day on the farm. It isn't always easy.
Because I have to run my house and do this and have my kids and still be out here. So, and I don't think a man is expected as much to do all that. My baby's fussing or whatever, and I have him in the stroller and kind of jiggling the stroller around while I'm milking and stuff. But he's a good baby, thank God. Yeah. And maybe as a woman too, maybe, yeah, you're not respected as much or heard as much in the community and everywhere about what you have to say about the farms, but I think it is changing. I don't think it's as bad as it once was.
The shift is encouraging women like Heather to challenge the traditional idea of a farm wife.
I have a stronger voice when it comes to how the money's handled. That doesn't say that most women don't have a strong voice. I just speak mine a little louder maybe than some of the other ones do. I'm more vocal.
It seems Heather's opinion is respected, though, even if she isn't liked very much by salespeople.
I have a say. Sometimes my say is the last say, so they have to convince me that it's something that we really need, as opposed to something that they want. Generally speaking, though, things that we purchase are things that are required, or things, you know, we need to upgrade or whatever. So but yeah, definitely I have a say. As a matter of fact, different times when we've gone to purchase something, I've been the person negotiating the price. So there's a few salesmen around here that don't actually like to deal with me. One guy left and said he had to leave before he lost his pants.
There are other women just like Heather. Marie Sonneveld helps run her family's farm near Kingston, Ontario. She also feels women are being respected more and more in the agricultural industry.
People are actually seeing that women can do just as much as men, if not more, possibly do it better.
In fact, out of Marie's 5 children, 4 are girls, and she hopes they'll take over the farm one day.
Because every time we meet someone, they say, oh, well, it's great that you have at least one boy to take over the farm and don't look towards the females. You know, and hopefully if they're anything like me, that they'll be hard workers and to know what to do.
But there's no guarantee the farm will even be there when they grow up. Family-run farms are struggling to fight the high cost of land and competition from factory farms.
Farming is becoming less of a family business and more of a big business. It's an industry, almost like a factory. A lot of farms are turning into factories, and I think that the government is treating all farms like it's a factory, and we're not. A lot of small family-run farms are still a small business, and I think that we need to continue to treat them like that. I think that we need to continue to support families that want to farm, rather than just think that only corporations and large business should be able to continue farming. I think it's going to be a real fight for the family farm to continue. It's very expensive to keep farming. You know, the costs are all there, and more and more government is making it harder for small businesses, small family farms to keep going. There's more legislation, there's more stipulations, there's more paperwork and things like that coming that make it harder for the smaller farm to keep going, because there's cost involved in all of that. So I think that it's going to be a struggle for the small farm to keep going.
There's the increasing input costs, like, you know, hydro's going up, the cost of gas is going up, fertilizer going up, pesticides are going up. So I think some farmers are looking at ways of doing things much less intensively. I think there's a big move to go organic. Sometimes this is done out of principle, but a lot of times this is done for economic reasons. So a bit of both, but sometimes you choose the low cost way of doing it because you haven't got the income or the capital to invest in fertilizers and so on.
And competition, really, to keep your farm growing bigger and stronger is unfortunately not that you want to, but it ends up being that you do end up pushing the smaller guys out because it's just how it goes. Not that you want to, but it just works that way, I guess.
But that doesn't scare Heather or Marie. They're tackling the problems head on. Together, they show why women are great farmers. Perhaps even better farmers than the men in their lives.
Women tend to be, I don't know, for me anyways, I tend to kind of follow the rules, whereas the guys the men will kind of play it by ear or do what kind of looks good. I don't know, I like to know what I'm doing specifically in terms of, giving medicine or helping a cow thrive if she's ill, kind of, find natural remedies and things like that too, instead of just, making up a concoction and hoping that it works.
Women are a lot better with cows than they maybe originally thought, or maybe that was just the man's job or whatever, but a lot of females are milking now. Like I know some farms that's all they have is females milking, just because they're more calm and they're more gentle, right? So the cows react a lot better to them, like they're more calm and they let their milk down better. I'm better with the cows than the males, right? Like they're much more short-tempered, they get mad a lot easier, and they're rougher on the cows and stuff like that. And like even this morning, like we had a guy come in and try to help us push cows, like to get them to come in the parlor, the new parlor, whatever. And they weren't coming for him, right? Like he was trying to pull them and they weren't coming and he couldn't get their head in there or whatever. But then when I went up there and started doing that, they responded a lot better to me.
We're much more patient. we're much more loving, and we just look at our animals as part of our family rather than just a bunch of animals in the barn. It's just our nature to look at the industry and think of it as more personal. It's more of a personal thing than a business. I think that's how we look at it all. I hope that's how we look at it. That's how we should be looking at it, is from that kind of a perspective.
They're more open to new crops, and maybe are more in tune with the sort of local food movement and the demands that people have for different varieties of vegetables and so on.
Younger generations are learning from the best of them and are poised to take over the industry one day. 15-year-old Julia Blackett is one of them. Although she may not be a farmer in the traditional sense of the word, the youngster has 3 goats, 2 horses, a handful of cats, and a couple of rabbits.
Just like the love I get from the animals. I like doing it for them. I like spending time with them. I like the companionship. The one goat out there, Jingle, I had her before I had any of the other goats, and she used to get upset when I was away. So every time I'd come home, she'd be like, "Bleh, I'm so happy to see you."
While Julie enjoys spending time with all her animals now, she has different dreams for her farming future.
Well, I've always wanted to run a riding stable and like teach people how to ride horses. And I've also wanted to have a horse rescue eventually, and rescue horses that are going to be slaughtered for food and stuff. And that's what I hope I can do in the future sometime, is help other animals and teach other people to enjoy horses.
And it's that kind of passion that keeps women farmers doing what they do. It's a lifestyle that makes for long days and the occasional sore back. But for these women, it's all worth it.
I'd like to see it continue. Our children are 5th generation farmers. That's not something we see a lot of young people wanting to continue farming and being able to. And I think that makes a huge difference as to, even if you want to, are you able to? So I'd like to see our family farm continue. I'd like to see our sons continue to make a living at it, and maybe their children if they want to.
I'm glad to be here, yeah. It's a lot of work, but I'm glad to be here, yeah.
I think the next generation of women are going to be the ones to watch them. I think that they've really got a mind of what they want, and they're going to achieve it.